Jim Bernheimer, author of Horror, Humor, and Heroes, Deadeye, Pennies for the Ferryman, and the soon-to-be-released Spirals of Destiny, Book 1, Rider. Today, I'll be reviewing Dead Set, a zombie anthology, edited by Michelle McCrary and Joe McKinney. The publisher is 23 House. In compliance with FTC rules, I received a free signed copy by responding to a post by Mr. McKinney in the Permuted Press forum offering a copy in exchange for a review. The anthology contains 20 short stories, and like any other collection, it's a mixed bag for the reader. Some of the short stories will resonate with the readers and be more memorable, others not so much. These are my opinions of the various short stories contained within. Of the ones that stood out to me in a good way, I'll list Resurregram, Jailbreak, Category 5, In the Middle of Poplar Street, Survivors, Pierre and Remy Hatch a Plan, Only a Nibble, Survivor Talk, and Good Neighbor Sam. In most of these, there was a solid payoff at the end. A friend once told me that the ending of a story is the biggest influence on whether or not someone will review that story, and I agree. A good hook at the beginning will get the reader interested in the reading of the rest of the short story. The plot will keep them there, but it's the ending that's their final impression of the piece. A very special nod goes out to the author of Only a Nibble for the most fascinating and humorous explanation of why zombies moan. Jailbreak could have been a bit better. As I was reading it, there was a big plot hole that stood out to me where they had one of the characters dialing out from the sheriff's station, yet no one anywhere was dialing in. I thought that phones ringing off the hook would have only added to the problems being faced by the characters in the story. Resurregram built a good suspenseful atmosphere to launch the anthology. So did Survivors in Category 5. They had really nice atmospheres, and I could really get the picture and the visualization in my mind of the story. Pierre and Remy Hatch a Plan had an authentic redneck narrative and believable idiots, which I found to be very amusing. Survivor Talk had a very nice twist with someone hosting a call-in show during the whole progress of the apocalypse, and Good Neighbor Sam reminded me of an old Twilight episode. I won't really say which one because I think that would spoil the entertainment offered by the story. Poplar Street was very well done and had a poignant ending. Seminar Z started out well, but wandered away from the very interesting hook of a customer service aspect to a company that provides reanimates, don't want to call them zombies, to the customers. Biting the Hand That Feeds You, Recovery, and Inside Where It's Warm were just okay. They seemed typical of the kind of stories you'd find in a zombie anthology. They were good, but it wasn't anything that really jumped off the page at me and said, oh, remember this story. This is one you're really going to think about. Now, I'll talk about the stories that stood out to me, but not in a good way. Recess is the first one. It's centered around a group of fourth graders making their final stand on the school's playground. Reading as they were systematically picked off really did nothing for me. Most anthologies and magazines, even the horror ones, shy away from violence and gore against children for a reason. Judgment had a solid premise of its tarot card reading, but the rest of the story didn't quite live up to the hook in the first part. Hatfield the Usurper was pretty weak in starting with the idea that James Cameron, of all people, would be redoing The Outlaw Josie Wales. What would a big-budget science fiction director be doing, recreating a no special effects Western classic? That seemed more up Tarantino's alley. Either way, it lost me at that point, and the unlikable main character didn't do anything to bring me back into the story. In fact, I was so annoyed that when I hit the next story, Ruminations from Tri Omega House, that it made a reference to Miskatonic University, I set the book down for a few hours and chose to do laundry instead of coming back to it. That story and several others, such as Zombies on a Plane, didn't really have a satisfying ending to them. When I first saw the title Zombies on a Plane, I was hoping for a transatlantic flight where the passengers, reduced to having no weapons by all the kinds of airport screening, were forced to deal with the living dead. Unfortunately, like the actual movie, it didn't really live up to the hype. The Zombie Whisperer also has a catchy title, but delivers little in return. The guy shows up with a Black Hawk helicopter armed with a minigun, and somehow a group of punks turn the tide on him. And the good guys, and I use that term loosely, were suspicious of every move the bad guys were making, but at the same time, the bad guys seemed to be kind of clueless and inept. I was glad this wasn't the final story in the anthology. It would have left a bad taste in my mouth. That brings me to the final story, That Which Survives. It was better than the previous one, but not by much, and here's why. All the action in the story is being done by someone other than the narrator. And that to me loses all the power and intimacy of using the first person narrative because everybody else, even the zombies, were more active in the story than the main character was. Overall, I'm going to give Dead Set a zombie anthology 3.5 stars, and I'll round up to 4 since Amazon doesn't allow for the use of half stars. The good and notable stories outweighed my opinions of the others. This would be a good addition to a zombie enthusiast collection. From an editorial standpoint, I spotted only a couple of errors, and the ones that jumped out at me were 2 instances where words were underlined to indicate where they would need to be italicized, and that didn't happen in the final manuscript. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. For more information on the publisher, visit their website at www.23house.com. And the 2 and the 3 are numbers. For more information on my writings, visit www.jimbernheimer.com.